with the full answer key. So besides me recording, which I just started right now, if you wanted to go in and look at my work, I have the practice test posted in week 6, and then my answer key has all my work shown as well, if you want to go and see how I did something after the fact. Okay, so you'll have the video to watch, and you can have the answer key to look at. All right, so here is your test. This is what it's going to look like when you're going to take it on Blackboard. Pretty much word for word, the questions will be the same. All I'm going to do is change the numbers that are in these questions. So if we are able to, my goal is to get through all 20 of these questions today, if possible. And then you should be all set, hopefully, to take this test. So this test, if you take a look, it's on proportions and percentages. There won't be any direct questions on the fractions and things like that we did in the beginning, because that was part of the review. All of that stuff comes up later on, but the test is on proportions, rates, ratios, and percentages. So here is the first question. They want you to convert this percent to decimal form. So going back to the start of the percent notes, if you have a mixed number percent and you want it in decimal form, first thing I would do is convert this mixed number to an improper fraction. So 2 times 24 is 48, plus 1 is 49. And that's over 2, but the percent sign is still there. The only thing that takes the percent sign off is dividing by 100, which I haven't done yet. So next, I'm going to do 49 divided by 2, and that'll get me a decimal with a percent still. And that's 49 divided by 2. It's going to give me 24.5. But again, I didn't divide by 100 here. I divided the numerator by the denominator, so the percent sign is still there. That was the #1 thing I saw missed on the quiz from this chapter, the one you guys just took. This is where people stopped if they got this wrong. They gave me this answer. This is not a decimal yet. It's a decimal percent. The percent sign does not come off until you do the last step. That's what takes this percent sign off. That also moves your decimal back 2 times. And here is the final answer. Okay, let me say it one more time. This is the part that people are forgetting. That's the only thing that will remove the percent sign. Everything else you're doing here is converting from one type of percent to another type of percent, and it's still a percent until you do that last step. Okay. Number 2, the formula for finding the interest on a loan is I equals PRT. Jack borrows $2,000 for 2 years at a rate of 2%. How much interest will he owe? So this is something, it's like a problem-solving question from 7.4 or 7.6. They're giving you a formula, and then they're telling you everything to plug in. If you're not familiar with the formula, let me talk about this real quick. What was that? I think the only thing that trips people up is how to work with this formula. So this P is called the principal, and what that means is how much the loan is for. So when you plug this in, this is your P. Then the R represents the rate, and the rate needs to be a decimal, so we'll have to change that. And then last, the T represents the time, and the time is 2. So when you go to plug this in, it's just multiplying 2,000 times the 2% in decimal form times the 2. So here we go. Here's everything they told us. It's going to be 2,000 in place of the P times the rate. The rate just needs to change to decimal form. So we just did that right here. Just divide it by 100. Here's your decimal form, and that's what gets plugged in. And then that needs to be times the time, which is 2. Okay, so just plug it all in like that and multiply it all together. I'm just going to throw it in my calculator. Where is my calculator? There we go. So 2,000 times 0.02 times 2 gave me 80. Okay, the converting the rate is the thing that people forget to do. And make sure, we talked about this a while ago, when you use the percent equation, only a few of you said that you preferred this way. When you use an equation of any kind, the percent needs to be changed to a decimal. So this is a different type of equation, but it's still got an equal sign in it. So that means that you need to change your percent to a decimal in this as well. If you don't, and you plug it in as 2,000 times 2 times 2, you're going to get 8,000. So I want you to think about this for a second. Use critical thinking. Let me go back and show you what I'm looking at here. Do you think he should owe $8,000 in interest from a $2,000 loan? Would that make sense? Could that possibly be right? If he's owing $8,000 worth of interest, which, by the way, it's not even a choice here. If he owes $8,000 worth of interest on a $2,000 loan, after taking it out for just 2 years, he got screwed.
Loan sharks.
Yeah, he got a rate of 200%, not 2%. So just watch for things like that. That's an indicator. If you're getting that answer, it's an indicator that you forgot something. Here is what it will come out. 2,000 times 2 times 2 that's way too high. You forgot to do something. Okay, let's go to the next one. Here's another one. They want they give you a formula, but you don't actually even need it for this. So car travels 270 miles in 4.5 hours. What is the rate in miles per hour? That's what they want. The word per means divide. So what we're going to do is just divide the miles by the hours. That's it. So just make sure you look for the order that they're asking for the rate in, set it up in that order, and then just divide it. So 270 divided by 4.5 is 60. So 60 miles per hour. So that would be B. Okay, number 4. In a hospital, there are 250 registered nurses. 100 of them are males. What is the ratio of males to females? In that order, male to female. And then they went in lowest terms. So that's another thing. I saw a couple people on the quiz today, or whenever you took it in the last couple days, did not reduce that one question when they asked for lowest terms. So pay attention to that. They're going to try to trick you with stuff like that. Okay, so if you have 250 nurses and 100 of them are males, how many are females?
150.
How'd you get that?
Take 100 from 250. So 100 males, 250 nurses, 100 are males, at least 150 nurses. We make them females.
Right. Just subtract these two. They give you the total and one of the pieces. Subtract and you get the other piece. So some people don't read it carefully and they plug in 250 and 100 in these spots. You gotta watch out, read it carefully. So now make sure you put it in the right order. It's gonna be 100 over females is 150. And then you reduce it to lowest terms. So these zeros out, divide them both by 5 to get it to lowest terms. And I heard it, 2/3 is the reduced ratio. Okay, so that's B. Okay, this is the last one on this page. There's just 20 questions. It's not that many.
Oh. Well, this is going to be like a quiz for a minute.
This one here, they just want you to solve this proportion. So we've been working with proportions for days now. Hopefully everybody is comfortable with this part now. So all I'm going to do is cross multiply. It'll be 3 times x equals 5 times 15. There's my setup. Now I clean it up. That's 3x. 5 times 15 is 75. And then what do I divide by?
3.
Yeah, divide both sides by 3 so that this is just an x, and then your answer is 25. 75 divided by 3 is 25. All right, so the fraction 3/8 equivalent to what percent? So here's our fraction 3/8, and they want this in percent form. So if you go back to the notes where we started talking about converting back and forth, what it says in the directions is to divide your numerator by your denominator first. So 3 divided by 8 Which is decimal form. We want percent form, but this is halfway there. And once you're there, now to put a percent sign on, you multiply by 100. Dividing by 100 is off, and multiplying by 100 puts it on. And then in this case, it's also going to move your decimal over 2 times. All right, and that one's done. Number 7, 0.002 is equivalent to what percent? So it's basically the same question. You don't even have to do as much work for this one. You're starting with a decimal sign, like we did right here, and you're still trying to get to a percent form. So we're still going to do the same thing. We're going to multiply by 100, and that's going to move the decimal over 2 times. And that's it. Okay, now the next ones are more like the ones we were doing the other day with problem solving. We didn't get a ton of them on Tuesday, so this will be good review and more practice. So Rachel's house sold for $180,000. Real estate agent received a commission of $10,800. What percent did the agent charge? When I see they're asking for a percent and they give me 2 other amounts, I immediately think this. Because if they're looking for a percent, I want to try to use the percent proportion. I just need the other 2 amounts in order to find it, and they gave those to me. So I just need to substitute all of that in. So the part is the commission, because the commission is only part of the sale. The sale is the total. So that's the whole thing. And they're asking for the percent. So I'm like, got my X, so then I can solve this. All right, so now that it's set up, I'm going to cross multiply it. Okay, so here's my setup. Now I will try to clean it up a little bit. So this is going to be 180,000 X equals, and then this is going to be this giant thing. You multiply those 2 together, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros on the end there. And then at the end, I'll divide by whatever's in front of my X. Okay, so plugging this in.
6%.
Okay, thank you. And that's a reasonable rate. If you've ever sold a house or bought a house, the rates range anywhere from 2% to 8%. But so that's pretty reasonable. Yeah. Okay, that one's done. Let's look at the next one. Okay, so Frida makes $25,000 per year as a medical assistant. After she's worked there for 6 months, she received a 6% pay raise. How much in dollars is Frida's raise? And then what will her new yearly salary be? All right, so let me write down everything they told us. She started off at $25,000 per year as her salary. After she worked 6 months, she got a 6% raise. Just one thing to note here. The fact that they told you how long it took for her to get the raise has nothing to do with this. This 6 is there as a distractor. It has nothing to do with it. You need the total, you need the percent, because what they're asking for is what part of this is going to go up. So immediately, just like in the last one, when I see a percent given to me and another amount, I'm going to go to the percent proportion and see what I can do to plug this stuff in. Okay, so this time they gave me the percent. So the 6% is going to go over here. And they gave me her total salary so far. So that's a whole. That's going to go down here. And they're asking how much of a raise does she get for part A. So let me.
Well, I have a question.
Yep.
When I did it, I plugged it in wrong. I put the 25,000 as the part since we're looking for the whole amount that she got.
Okay, so that was what I was going to talk about right here. So they're asking for 2 different things right here. If they want another raise first, then where am I? Then this is what I'm going to look at. The 6% is a raise amount as a percentage. So if that's going here, then this over here has to be how much of a raise she's going to get. Okay, 100 represents the total percentage. And so this salary is her total salary before the raise. Okay, so when we solve this, what we're gonna find out is how much her salary is gonna go up by, and then we can do a second part. We can do a second step to figure out what her new salary will be. So let me finish it out real quick, and I'll keep trying to explain that if that's still confusing. So it's going to be 100 times x, and then 6 times 25,000. Let's see what that is. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Got that so far, and then I'm going to divide it by the number in front of x. So that cancels. And then that gives me that. 150,000 divided by 100 is this. So what this is telling you is this is how much of a raise she gets. And let's go back to the question. She's going to make another $1,500 per year. So if we want her new salary, then it would be $25,000 plus $1,500, since a raise makes your salary go up.
26.
Here's her new salary then. Okay, so here's another one that's very similar. An item costs $45.60, and there's a 30% discount on the item. How much is the discount? and what is the sale price. So let me jot it down. It's $45.60 with a 30% discount. Okay. Same thing as the last one. I see a percent and another value, so I am immediately going to try my proportion. So when I plug my percent in, it's 30%. Keep in mind now what it represents. That's why I'm labeling all of this. If this is a 30% discount, then what I'm going to solve for over here when I go to plug in whatever else I have, this also has to represent a discount. Whether I have it or I don't know it, it is going to represent a discount because that's what this rate is. Okay, so now let me go up here. The other amount that they told me was $45.60. That was the total cost of the item. So that should go down here because that's what this bottom represents. 100 is the total percentage. So then this has to be the total amount. Since they're asking for how much is the discount in part A, they want to know what is the discount. What I'll find, if I substitute this and call this X, I will find the discount just by solving this. So let's see what that comes out to be. Be 100 times X. And 45.60 times 30.
And that'll be 1,368.
1,368 over here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll divide it. So,
$13.68.
okay, perfect. All right, so again, that represents the discount. That answer is part A then, because that's what they wanted. For part B, they want what is the sale price. So discounts come off, so all we have to do is then subtract. So if it's $45.60 to start, and we're getting a $13.68 discount, let's see what that comes out to be. I got $31.92. All right, so if you notice in the last two problems, they're giving you two parts for a reason, to try to help you go through it. Just make sure you pay attention to what they're asking for when you set up your proportion. All right, a car traveling at 65 miles per hour leaves a 25-foot skid mark. What is the ratio of the speed to length? Lowest terms. Okay, so if they just want a ratio, they just want a fraction that's reduced. So give it in the order that they asked for. Speed comes first, so it's going to be 65 miles per hour divided by 25 feet. Okay, and this is it. They just want lowest terms, so I don't need to divide it all the way through. I just need to simplify. This is both divisible by 5. And that's it. A lot of people get that question wrong because they forget what they're asking for when they tell you you have a ratio. A ratio is just another way of saying a fraction. So put it in fraction form and simplify the fraction. That's it. Okay. Number 12 is the same thing. They say Lake County's smallest forest preserve is 472 acres. Orange County's smallest is 482 acres. Find the ratio, that's a fraction, of Lake County to Orange County. So we need Lake to Orange. It doesn't say to simplify, but we're going to do that anyway. So Lake is first, 472. Then Orange is 482. Okay, that's literally all that I want. And so I just need to simplify these since they both end in 2. I can divide them both by 2. And that's it. Those don't go down any further. Next, they want to know if this is a true proportion. So you're not solving for x, you're just checking to see if these two things cross multiply and give you the same amount. Anytime you see a proportion though, you should be thinking cross multiply in some way, either to solve or to check. So when they say justify your answer, what they mean is, does it actually check out? So we're gonna, oops, we're gonna check these. 40 times 4 should be equal to 24 times 7. Well, this is giving me, well, this is 160. This is giving me 168. So
160 and 168.
yeah, not a true proportion then. Okay, and again, this is the justification for why, because these two things are not equal. Not it. So that one. Okay, here now we are going to solve. So proportions we cross multiply, but now we're going to solve it. So here we go. That'll be 42 times x, and then 56 times 12. This is 42x. 12 is 672. And then I'll divide them by 42. Negative 15. Okay, let's look from this page. A 150-pound woman would receive 24 grams of a certain medicine. How many grams did a 120-pound woman receive? Okay, so here's the deal with this one. Do you guys see a percentage in there? Or are they asking for a percent?
No, but they give you all the numbers.
Exactly. They didn't give you a percent, but they gave you 3 out of 4 numbers. So you can still use a proportion to solve this. Just go with the 2 that go together. You have a 150-pound woman, and she's going to receive 24 grams of medicine. Those are 2 pieces of information that go together. So I like to start with the 2 that they gave me. Again, you don't have to. We've talked about this quite a bit now. You don't have to go in the order, but you just have to be consistent. Then they want to know how many grams go grams, should a 120-pound woman receive?
You just put everything in the same places, pounds over pounds, and the grams will go over the grams.
Yeah, you can do it that way too. I did it this way. I went with the 2 that they gave me, and then just kept it this way. But you're right, you could have done the pounds with the pounds. And then you would have just kept the grams with the grams. That's another way. Either way, if you look, you should have the same numbers across from each other. They'll just be in different spots. The 24 is on the bottom in this one. The 24 is on the top on this one, but they're still diagonally across from each other, which means that these are both the same thing. Once you cross multiply them, no matter what you do, you're still going to end up with the same thing right here. Okay, and that's why it's fine. It's fine to do it that way. So let's see what we get. This will be 150 x and 20 times 24 just gave me that. I plugged it in. Then I'll divide both sides by 150. Okay, here's number 16. If we have no questions, I'm going to keep going. An item regularly priced at $80 is on sale for 20% off. I'm just going to write this down as I'm going. There's a 3% sales tax. Price for part A. Okay, so here we go. I'm just labeling everything so I can keep track of what I'm doing here. This question has multiple parts, so pay attention to what they're asking for. If they want sale price, that they want to know how much of a discount is coming off and then what are you going to pay for it. That has nothing to do with the tax right now. So don't look at the 3% for part A. What we need to do, here's my strategy. We've done a few questions like this before where they broke it up into different parts. We need to first find the discount and then subtract to find the sale price. Okay, so that's my strategy. So since I'm talking about a percentage and I have a cost, I'm going to go with this to help me solve it. So now let's see what we've got. If I want to find the discount first, then I need the discount rate or the amount, or I need the discount rate and the cost of the item. So I do have the discount rate right here. That's going to go up in the top. And that means that whenever I'm solving, it's going to tell me my discount. So when I solve for X, it's going to be the discount. And the whole thing is the price of the item, which is the $80. So I'm plugging that all in. And I'm going to cross multiply. And let's see what I get. This will be 100x, and this is 1600. So I'm going to divide it by 100, and x is $16. Okay, and now let's go back one more time. 20% was the discount rate. 100 is always the total percent. So this was the total amount of the item, and that means that the X that we solved for was the discount amount. And so I'm getting a $16 discount. Okay, that is not what the question wanted. The question wanted the sale price. This is not the sale price. This is how much money comes off the original. The original was $80. You're getting a $16 discount. So the sale price is $64.
Yes, now I did a different, I don't want to confuse anybody, but what I did was I had the 80 and then I took the 20%, so it was 0.2, and then I did it that way.
Okay, you did it with, instead of doing the proportion, you did it this way then.
Yeah, I did that way.
It's fine. That's the other way to do it. We haven't been doing it that way in class because it seemed like more people wanted to do it with the proportion, but
okay,
this is the other way, and it's totally fine. Okay. So let me get rid of this stuff here, and let's look at part B. All right, so for part A, we got $64 was our sale price. Just keep that because we're going to need it. All right, for part B, they want to know what is the amount of sales tax. So now we can pull that 3% in that we haven't used yet because now they're asking for how much tax. So I'm going to still keep with my percent proportion, which is my part over the whole and the percent over 100. Part B is asking for the sales tax. Okay, so the amount that we're going to use for our percent now is the 3%. That goes with what they're asking for. So if I plug this in, oops, I don't want to do that. If I plug this in up here, that represents the tax, the sales tax rate as a percent. Sales tax rate as a percent, total percent. And then so over here, whenever I plug in my part, that will give me my sales tax as a amount of money. And this is going to be my total price. Here's the thing though. This is the thing that some people mess up when they do this question. The total price is the price that you are paying for it on sale, not the original. You're getting a discount, so you're paying $64. That's what they tax then. You can't tax the original amount. That would be crazy. 64 is the price you're going to pay, and that's what they tax then. So plug that in. And that means if you don't get Part A right, Part B is going to go bad. So be careful with this problem. You got a lot of things you got to go through. Part B is dependent on Part A, and Part C is dependent on Part B, and all of that. So go slow through this problem. Okay, so let's see what we get. 64 times 3 is 192 over on this side. Then when I divide it by 100, (192) divided by 100 is 1.92. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back and see what is that. This was the sales tax rate, so this is the sales tax as an amount, as a dollar amount, and that's what they asked for. So we don't have to do anything else to answer Part B. That's what it solved for. That one's done. So then last part, Part C, is what is the total cost of the item on sale? So we know what it costs after the discount, and we know how much tax we're going to pay. So for Part C, we're just going to add 64 plus $1.92. So the total cost of this item on sale with tax included is that much. All right, moving on then. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2014, the average annual salary for a medical assistant was $31,220. I think it's higher now. That was 6 years ago. So assuming that a medical assistant's salary puts them in the 20% income tax bracket, determine how much money they would pay in income tax. All right, so let's talk about this here. They're making a $31,220 salary, and they pay 20% in income tax. Okay. So I have a percent. I have one of the amounts. I can go to the percent proportion then. And then if I plug in the 20 in place of my percent, this represents the income tax. So on this side, that's also going to represent the income tax. This is the total. So this should be the total. Okay, so they're asking for how much income tax do we pay. So that will be my X, and the total is my salary amount, the total salary. So there it is, all plugged in. Let's cross multiply it. comes out to be. 31,220 times 20 gave me 624,400. And then I need to divide it by 100 because that's what's in front of x. And I got that when I was all done. So that is the income tax as an amount of money. That's what the question asked for. So that is done. Right? Determine how much money do we pay in income tax. So that's part A. Now, part B says determine the medical assistance net income, which is income after taxes are taken out. That means you need to subtract to figure out what the take-home pay will be. Net income is what your starting salary is after you pay taxes. So you need to subtract to figure that out. So 31,220 minus 6244 from part A gives me a take-home pay of this. Well, that's what the person would make per year. John is planning to purchase a new car that costs $15,500. Okay, then for part A, on average, a new car loses 11% of its value the moment it is driven off the lot. Okay, so after he does that, what will its value be? Okay, so I'm just jotting this down. We'll do part B in a minute. Here is the information we need for part A. Just like we've been doing, I see an amount, I see a percent, so I'm going to work with the percent proportion on this too. And now when I go to plug the percent in, it's 11% that goes here. But if you watch the way that they worded this, the car is going to lose 11%. It's not going to be worth 11%. It's going to lose that. So this is a loss. That means that this is going to be a loss. How much money the car is going to lose. Okay, so when we solve this, we're given the total. When we solve this, we're going to find out how much money the car is going to lose. It is not going to tell us the value of the car. We're going to have to do a separate step to figure out what the car is worth afterwards. So let's see what we get first. Here's my setup. This is 100x and 15,500 times 11 gave me 170,500. And then I'm going to divide by 100. Which is that. Okay, so again, think about this. This is how much the car is going to lose in value. That is not what the car is worth. The car, you purchased it for $15,500. After you drive it off the lot, it's not going to be worth $1,705. It's going to be worth a lot more than that. It's just going to lose that much. So the final value is going to be $15,500 minus $1,705. That means the car will be worth $13,795. Okay, which makes a lot more sense. It's a brand new car. You drive it off the lot, it's still worth a lot of money. All right, this is very similar to like a discount problem where you have to find the discount and then subtract to figure out how much you pay for it. Let's look at part B. After 5 years, on average, the car is worth 37% of what you paid for it. So how much will it be worth? Now this is different. This is not, you're not talking about losing a value. They're talking about how much it's actually worth now. So that changes things. Okay, of what you paid for it at the dealership, that's going back to that original price then. So now, when I plug this into my proportion, the 37% represents the value of the car. How much is it worth? Because that's how they worded it. That also means when we solve this, we won't have to do anything else because they're asking how much it is worth. What will the value be? We won't have to do a second step and do anything else. Okay, so I'm going back to the $15,500 because that's how much the dealership charged. Then I'm going to cross multiply this one. I got 573,500 when I multiplied those two together. So then when I divide by the number in front, that gives me 5735. And that represents the value of the car. That's what they told me in the problem. So I don't need to do a separate step and subtract anything. That's what the car will be worth after 5 years. Okay. I'm out of time. Do you guys have any questions for me?